The PRS MT15 amp is ProGoTone's second offering for pickup-specific capture preset packs for Tonex, and we'll be porting these over to Kemper and Quad Cortex soon as well. And pickup-specific just means I'm being explicit in telling you exactly which pickups I've used to create each pack. You don't need to have those specific pickups, it just gets you in the ballpark. So for instance, if you have single coils, the Strat pack will work. We have different variants of PAFs, modern pickups, pretty much anything that you'll be using, you'll be in the ballpark. They're all 96K advanced captures, so high fidelity. I've taken these out on gigs already, so I've already played through multiple PA systems, multiple lineups, and whatnot. So I know that they work. You get 3 folders: the DIs, which are self-explanatory, the studio folder, and then the live folder. And really all that comes down to is low volume versus high volume, respectively. Just real quick, the live folder, I've taken into account the Fletcher-Munson curve. It's a phenomenon by which, as volume increases, our ear more readily perceives high frequency information and our body feels low frequency information. So your live tones actually need to be a little more mid-range focused. And at low volumes, that might sound a little more rolled off on the top end and even dull in some instances. But in any case, I'm going to take you through a few of these sounds in this pack. Today I'm using the Lollar Imperial pickups, and so let's do it. All right, so real quick, when I brought these in and I named them just on my end, I flipped it. So if it says studio, it's live. If it says live, then it's the studio pack. So sue me, we all have day jobs, okay? So the first things first, we need a good bass clean tone. And there's 2 variants, obviously, for each pack. They're hard to tell apart. And truth be told, most clean tones are hard to tell apart. They all basically do the same thing. So, does it do the Motown thing? Yup. Does it do the funk thing? Yup. Does it do all the modern funk stuff? Yup. Can I play that Petrucci intro? But more importantly, because like I said, most cleans are going to function the same way. You're not really going to know a clean until it's under the scrutiny of gain. So the way I use this live is I have a Tonex 1 in 3-channel mode, and I have about five boosts and distortion pedals before it, and they're all very different. And like I said, I take all of these out on gigs and I make sure that they work no matter where I am before I offer them to you. And yeah, they hold up under the scrutiny of gain. And what that means is it doesn't get fizzy. It doesn't get too boomy in the low end. The mid-range doesn't all of a sudden start having strange resonances peak out. There are no ice pick frequencies that all of a sudden poke out. And that's the important thing. There are a lot of really well-known captures and presets for Tonex, at least, that people have used. And I've used on gigs too, but like I said, as soon as you gain it up, it doesn't work. These actually do. So they're just basic clean tones. One for studio, one for live. Then we go to Edge of Breakup, and I believe this is the live version. It's got a little tiny bit of hair on it, and then I have 2 variations. You can tell that's a little brighter, so that's the studio version. And it's just got a little more hair on it. And I actually use the Edge of Breakup tones as my bass clean tone live because I don't have to fight the band as much. And it still comes off as clean. It reads as clean. And again, it still takes pedals really well. And of course, the Edge of Breakup has to get me into jazz territory as well. So I'll roll down tone knob a little bit. Moving over to the crunches, I'm going to go through most of the stuff for rhythms first. We've got studio, and we've got live. Again, more mid-range focused. It's important that each subsequent gain stage, one, comes from the amp itself. It's not just the same capture and then gained up in Tonex. The amps react differently depending on where you have their gain structure set. So that's number one. And number two, that they organically build upon each other. So for instance, if I have edge breakup, then moving to crunch 1, moving to crunch 2, they all sound like natural progressions of gain. What would I play on crunch 2? Maybe actually crunch 1, I'd play more classic rock stuff. Right? I play a lot of the same stuff when I'm demoing sounds because I'm not trying to demo my playing, I'm demoing the tones. So you're going to hear a lot of this stuff on the website anyway. Okay, moving on. And other greatest hits, right? The next thing I look for in crunches is, do they clean up when I play quietly? Well, what happens if I roll this really down? Oh, all of a sudden it sounds like that edge of breakup tone from before. That's what I mean by organic succession of gain stages. Also, you know, I'm a pro musician. I play, I guess, what we call GB gigs, general business gigs. It's going to be private parties, weddings, bars, churches, blah, blah, blah. So it runs the gamut. Every song I have to be able to play in any style at any point in time. So these have to work for me as such. So they'll work for you too. I mean, they'll work for anything in that case. So there's crunch 2, and if I'm playing something like Country Girl, it's got that snap, it's got that hair that I can play the intro with. It's not lethargic, but then it's got enough oomph to handle the rock parts of the song. I might use this gain stage for something like that, or let's see if it does a little bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan too. It'll get by if that gets called, it'll get by. But yeah, basically just your basic crunches. Random riffs and such. Crunch 3. Just more of the last. all that stuff, right? So it does all that rock stuff. Crunch 4. Okay, so let me explain this amp a little bit. This amp is easy to dial in. It's the rock amp. And it's easy to dial in, I think, because it sounds like the tone stack comes after many, if not all, of the gain stages. So it sounds like itself no matter what you do. You could turn the treble, you could turn the mids, blah, 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 and you'll get changes, but it's not going to be as drastic as something like a rectifier, where the tone stack comes before many of the gain stages. Those are really hard to dial in, but I think they're way more versatile, but they're harder to dial in. You can't go wrong with this amp. But a funny thing happens between channel 1 and channel 2. It sounds, I don't want to say like a different amp, but it sounds a lot different. So it was a struggle, but I think I got it close. Everything up until Crunch 3 was basically channel 1, and it's got an extra gain stage with a push-pull knob, but you can still get a little bit of that tiny bit of chug. But it's still, it's not over the top. But once I go to Crunch 4 on my captures, that's when I went to channel 2. And you can tell the quality is just, it's a little different. It's a little different. So Crunch 3, Crunch 4, Crunch 4 live, I believe. Yeah, I think so. There's Crunch 4 live, I believe. But it's just a little bit different, but I got it as close as I could. And I think if you're using this amount of gain anyway, it's going to be a different application regardless. So I might use this for... Right, so it's just more gain. It's more gain, but it's not really metal territory or anything. So I guess that brings us to the chugs. And I've got, at least for the Lawler Imperial pack, a few variations of chugs. I guess depending on the folder, of course. And this is the live. Or maybe that's the studio. You'll have the right ones in your folder, but hey. I have an alternative one there. That one's a lot louder for some reason. I don't really know why, but it's a respectable chug. And then we have 3 levels of lead. So I have low lead, mid lead, and high lead. So let's start with low lead and basically think John Mayer, okay? So it's got a little bit more of a high roll off to it, a slight bump at around 750, sort of like almost like a tube screamer sort of thing going on. But yeah, it's nice and clean, it's round, it's warm. And it's got a little bit of teeth to it. Then I got the mid lead. Now on this I'm going for a real just classic rock sort of thing. Basic classic rock lead. Nothing fancy there. And then I have a few flavors of big lead. So I believe this one is for the live use. And so you can tell again, as always, that's very mid-focused. The studio version has more high end. And when you're playing in the studio, I like to have a little more high end to play with as a producer. If I'm mixing, I'd rather cut the high end than try to add high end that isn't necessarily there. So I wanted all the frequencies to be there. So there it is. All the leads, all the cleans, all the edge breakups and in-betweens. That's the Progo Tones MT15 pickup specific capture preset pack. So pick yours up today at progotones.com.